Good morning, all of you. Now we are back with the chapter Working of Institution. We have already discussed about legislature. In this, parliament, role of parliament, and difference between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, we have discussed. Now today we'll start with the executive. If you remember the story of office memorandum, the case studies which we have started in the beginning, and if you will see, the person who signed the document did not take this decision. He was only executing the policy decision taken by someone else. We noted the role of Prime Minister in taking that decision. If you remember, that is Prime Minister. But we also know that he could not take that decision if he did not have support from Lok Sabha. Because first he introduced the bill in Lok Sabha, and after discussion the bill was passed. So that means executing the wishes, executives are responsible for parliament. That means at different levels of any government we find functionaries who take day-to-day decisions but do not exercise supreme power on behalf of the people. All those functionaries are collectively known as the executive. And why they are called executive? Because they are in charge of the execution of the policies of the government. Now we will discuss about the government, which usually mean the executive. So that means executive and government both are same. As I told you in the beginning that executive, two categories make up in a democratic country. Number one, elected by the people for a specific period of time, that are called political executives. Political leaders who take the big decisions fall under this category. And the second category, that is, people are appointed on a long term basis, called the permanent executive or civil services. Persons working in civil services are called civil servant. I think it is very famous name. They remain in office even when the ruling party changes. As I told you about in a movie, Nayak. These officers work under political executive and assist them in carrying out the day-to-day administration. Now, why does the political executive have more power than non-political executive? Why is the minister more powerful than the civil servant? The civil servant is usually more educated and has more expert knowledge of the subject. The advisors working in the finance ministry know more about economics than the finance minister. Ministers always change. Sometimes the ministers may know very little about the technical matters that come under their ministry. This could easily happen in ministry like defense. It is not necessary the defense minister will be having all the knowledge about defense, health, science and technology, mining, etc. But still we say that minister have the final say on these matters. And the reason is very simple. In a democracy, when we are talking about the democracy, people's rule. And when it is people's rule, so will of people is supreme. The minister is elected by the people. and empowered to exercise the will of the people on their behalf. They are accountable, as we have discussed in the merits of democracy. Political executive or ministers, they are accountable or answerable to the people for all the consequences of her decisions. That's why the minister takes all the final decisions. The minister decides the overall framework and objectives in which decisions on policy should be made. The minister is not, he is not expected to be an expert. वो expert हो भी सकता है, but not expert matters of our ministry. The minister takes the advice of experts in the matters of our ministry. The minister takes the advice of experts on all technical matters, but very often experts hold different opinions. An expert, who is expert? That is permanent executive, who is having the technical knowledge about that department. Depending on what the overall objective is, the minister decides. And this is not only in politics, this happens in any large organization also. Those who understand the overall picture take the most important decisions, not the experts. The experts can tell the route, but someone with a large view decides the destination. And in a democratic country, elected ministers perform this role. So now we have learned executive or government, both are same. And when we are talking about the executive, we are having two types of executive, political and permanent executive. Political executive, they are ministers, elected representatives, and they are answerable to the wishes of people. Permanent, permanent executives, they are called civil servants. They are also called bureaucrats. They are expert in their fields and give advice to the political executive. And political and permanent executive. Political executive are more powerful because they are responsible for each and every work.